Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the MOV Leaders, a podcast where we are celebrating women leaders. In the episode 7, we are going to see a very special guest. Before welcoming her, as per our tradition, let's remember a women trailblazer this week also. This week, we are going to talk about Anandi Bai. Anandi Bai was born late in 1800s. She is the first Indian female doctor who went to US and studied Eastern medicine. And she is known for her braveness. She's been married to a society at a very young age where women were not given any importance on the education space. But with the support of her close ones, she traveled to US and did her medicine and came back. She didn't stop after that. She raised her voice, made awareness among people why female doctors are important for this society and why female education is very important. Today we are going to meet one such guest who are raising her voice in a lot of forums, and she is a famous TEDx speaker, and she is encouraging a lot of women to come forward and achieve what they wanted to achieve. So without any further delay, I'm welcoming Katheriin Liibert to the show, who is heading the Outfunnel marketing now. Welcome, Katheriin, to the show.
Hello. Hi, and thanks for having me.
Hi, Katheriin. Thanks for taking your time and being in our show. So, Katheriin, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us briefly about your journey and background?
Sure. Yes. So, like you introduced, currently I'm the head of marketing at Outfunnel. We connect sales and marketing tools. So you can think of it as Zapier for specifically sales and marketing use cases. Previously, I've been working in product management as well as marketing at various tech startups, most recently Clipman, and before that, Fleep for nearly 4 years. And alongside my journey, I also co-founded a company named MOV. So we make custom clothing. You can get your neighborhood or your city or your village printed on a sweatshirt. So the idea is that you can show off the love for your hood.
Wow. That's an incredible journey, Katheriin. So I could see that, from a co-founder to a head of marketing, you have seen right from product development, product management, marketing, everything on your stride, right? So how do you see the opportunities for women in those space? And anything in specific you feel, or in your personal experience, you faced any challenges when coming across this fields, Katheriin?
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question. Good place to start our discussion. So when I was thinking about this topic and preparing for this and how to talk about it, I realized that I myself have one symptom of many females in the workplace, even leaders. That my answers or my descriptions when I talk about my experiences would start with I have been lucky, or this or that person helped me. So I don't like it is true to some extent for sure, but I'm always reminded by this talk that I think it's already like 10 years old by Sheryl Sandberg, who gave a TED talk on the topic of why there are so few female leaders in high positions, and she explained there that there's many studies that show that women have the tendency to attribute their success to others, whereas men are more likely to say that they did it themselves or they're just awesome. So for some reason, it's uncomfortable for women to come out and say, I did this because I'm great. And I found this to be true myself as well. Another example is job interviews or other settings where we have to talk about ourselves, that men are in general more overconfident about their experiences and knowledge, whereas women downplay their know-how and experience. So I will admit that I think, as much as I can remember, I've always been a go-getter with high aspirations, and I've always wanted to explore more and organize and lead things. And I think this is greatly thanks to my upbringing and the kind of peers I've been surrounded with in school. But getting to a point where I'm leading product management or marketing, I will come out and say that it has been all my own grit and hard work. It does sound self-congratulating to say this, but I think it's something that women leaders have to get used to saying to make a change. So I will say that in my professional experience, I've been quite lucky to not have a lot of challenges when it comes to being a woman in the workplace. I've worked with very great managers and teammates who don't at least seem to pay any mind to that. I mean, in the last 5 years, most of the teams I've worked with, I've been one of the few women, and in some cases the only woman in the office, and it's actually been fine. Like, I've enjoyed it. I haven't paid no mind to it. I've tried to be blind to gender as much as possible, just in terms of a professional setting. But I think it's actually sometimes even an advantage, because these days, I mean, in any forward-looking company, the managers and leaders will put specific effort and be very mindful that there needs to be diversity in the workplace. So if in general tech is underrepresented by women, then being one of those few there, it's a great challenge, but also a great opportunity to make a change and to be a leader or a role model in that. And I think all of my thinking, it goes back to when I was younger. I actually started my career with an internship in the USA. So I was working with a nonprofit organization in Savannah, Georgia. And I was I happened to have a very great, one of my first managers, B. Ray. She played a really big role in this. She was always very mindful of everything it comes to women in the workplace, and she made extra effort to make sure that all the women in our collective would get to meet lots of great, inspiring entrepreneurs or investors or otherwise leaders who are women and who are working in the tech space. And I mean, I think it's no secret that the business world in the USA and a lot of the Western European countries is leading in terms of taking diversity very seriously. But having such exposure early in your career, where someone intentionally gives you this kind of confidence and this kind of just even exposure to what women are doing in the world, I think it gave me a lot of the kind of confidence to be, you know, to be who I am in my professional life and to keep aspiring for higher leadership positions. So I think such exposure is very key at an early start of your career.
You shared a lot of insights, Katheriin. One thing which immediately struck with me is women don't self-congratulate them most of the times, right? They always feel that it is bad to come up and say, "I have done this." There's another angle towards it, because we are too perfectionist. Actually, I would call. In fact, a couple of our guests also earlier called out. In fact, Neha, when I had my interview with Neha last week about this point, she was giving me an insight, like in a workshop, that when it's been asked to a men that if you're 60% matched to the job, will you apply for the job? Almost like 80% of people said, yes, I'll apply. But with the same full group of female, they have asked the same question again. None of them raised their hand, because they feel that 100% they have to be perfect and they have to match every requirement and they have to do. Otherwise, they will not feel like taking a credit. They'll always be very hard on themselves. It's not required, actually, right? So sometimes we don't know way to comfort ourselves, cajole ourselves, and comfort ourselves. Rather, will always put us in a difficult position, and we ourselves will push us more. And sometimes which will lead, it's a good thing, but sometimes which will lead us not to speak up for what we want. So in that note, you yourself is a TEDx speaker and you have organized a lot of conference. In your experience, how do you think public speaking is important for women to navigate the corporate ladder or anywhere? How to climb in the leadership position? I personally feel public speaking is very important. But in your experience, how do you feel public speaking play an important role? And similarly, how it is important to have a forum created for ourselves to voice out our opinions. So what is your point of view on this, Catherine?
Yeah, it's so true about not about women being perfectionists. We always think we have to play by the rules, and if we haven't fulfilled the rules, then it doesn't work. But when it comes to speaking, again, when I was in the States, we were organizing a tech conference called Geekend, and I was coordinating some of the speaking committees. There was many different very experienced people who were selecting and nominating speakers for the conference. And I noticed there already that we were putting a lot of effort into making sure that the speaker panels were diverse, both on the gender terms and otherwise. So I noticed this as something that needs to be encouraged in women already back then. And I think for me, I've actually one of the biggest impacts in terms of public speaking that one of my managers had on me when I was working at Fleet was he explained how public speaking is really kind of like a muscle. It's not something that you're born with naturally. It doesn't come naturally to much anyone, but the more you practice it, the more you actually try it out, and the first few times are scary. Like it's in this book, Thinking Fast and Slow, as well. Like it's you're put on a stage and there's lots of people who are following and listening to you, and immediately our instinct is, our heart rate goes up, we start sweating. It's like it's some moment of tension for everyone, actually, in the very beginning. But the more you do it, the more your brain realizes that, hey, like, I didn't die, like nothing bad happened, like I was actually fine. Maybe some people even congratulated me later. That felt nice. So the more you have those experiences, the more you can train your brain to be okay with public speaking. And I actually, during high school, I used to hate public speaking. I was so afraid of it. I did not enjoy it at all. And we had a compulsory class that was actually about public speaking. And during the same summer, after taking that class, I started working as a tour guide, which was, scary at first. You have a group of 30 or 40 people who's listening to you, but it was excellent practice for public speaking, because most of the time as a tour guide, you're speaking and everyone else is listening. And you realize that, the more you train it, the better you become at it. So ever since then, I've tried to knowingly accept speaking invitations when possible, even if they're small events or nothing major. I think it's just such a big part of being a leader, because you have to talk, whether it's your team or whether you're representing your company. It's something that is a major asset if you do train it. And so I always try to accept and also encourage women to get on stage. Like whenever there is an opportunity to nominate someone, or whenever my friends or colleagues or whoever I know who are considering doing something like this, I give them as much encouragement as possible. And another thing is, like, if you're scared, if it's scary, or you're not sure if you want to do it, is to practice. When I was speaking at TEDx, I was actually impressed how much preparation work goes into it. It's not like anyone just gets on stage and they're just great at it. You do like 3 practices, at least run-throughs, with all the speakers, with speaking coaches, giving you pointers and feedback and everything. And even for smaller speaking engagements, the least you can do is just practice in front of a mirror. Like, this is what we learned in high school, and it sounds silly, but it works. Like, you actually get to train yourself to go through the entire bit, what you're going to say, and see where you get stuck, and kind of remember different pointers. So again, it's just about practice. I think people like to think that, oh, I'm just not a great public speaker, or it's not for me, but it's actually just something that you train.
It was amazing. I could relate most of it, Catherine, because as you rightly said, till my college first year, I was very much against public speaking. I never felt that I could do even one presentation on my own. So when they said that in campus interview you need to be assertive, you need to speak, It was a great, humongous task in front of me, and all I did was practicing in front of the mirror. So the moment till I like seeing myself in the mirror, I'll not stop. I'll keep practicing, and still I'm practicing with all these speaking opportunities I get. And one of the reason for me to host this podcast is also to bring women leaders to speak up, celebrate each other, call out others, encourage women out there to come and speak. Recently I was doing a small guest lecture to a company which is on countryside. I lot of women out there and who are doing inside sales, let us like telesales kind of role. But everybody was saying I cannot do public speaking. I was asking them, you're talking to somebody even not seeing their face and convincing them to buy your product, so that means you are a great speaker. So it doesn't mean right. And also every time why we are afraid of public speaking, according to me, is we are always bothered and worried what others will think about us.
Yeah.
And if I do one mistake, if I goof up, or if I do something, what they will think about me, how can I get onto the stage again, how will I face them? But all of us are forgetting one thing: the world is moving fast and nobody is having time to notice, like, what mistakes you have done. They may notice, but they'll not even remember, and the next success will wipe off all these things. It's the recency effect always plays this thing, right? You just need to, if you do one bad public speaking or one bad presentation, it's okay. Next time you do it better, people will forget this. They will say that you have come back with a bang. So if you're not trying, already you've failed. So it's always better to try, and it is very important for women to come and represent themselves in all the forums and everywhere. Then only you will have confidence to ask what you deserve, right? You want a promotion, or you want a pay rise, or you want to take up a new assignment, you wanted to go on-site opportunity. So you will all be able to do when you are confident about yourself. And definitely public speaking, your presentation skills will definitely contribute a lot on your confidence. We both are one live examples, and still we are training ourselves. As she said, that muscle training never stops. So we are still talking. So we have spoken a lot about the challenges women face in workplace and how diversity plays a key role. But all of us are so concerned about increasing the representation of women in each role. But we are not much talking about the pay gap parity, because there is that, which is a issue which has been lightly taken. So as I was mentioning earlier, maybe women themselves are not asking what they deserve. And sometimes even when last episode, even Neha was telling that I don't have any shame, Scindia, I will go and ask if I want, because I'm working for money, right? So but is this the mindset there with women also in the workplace? Is something, because still, as a statistics say, that pay gap parity is big based on the gender. So I know this is one of your passion topic. A couple of our earlier interactions, you have mentioned a lot about this, Katheriin. So what is your point of view on this pay gap parity?
Sure. Yeah. I will just go back to the messing up while public speaking for a moment, because I remembered, and I haven't thought about this for a while, but when I did my TEDx talk, it was the first time for me to be on a stage that was kind of like, globally broadcast on YouTube, everything. And there was like, I don't know, 200 people in the room listening to me, and I actually froze up on the stage, like in the middle of my talk. I just froze up. I think it felt like for hours, but it was actually probably like 10-15 seconds or whatever. And then I continued. Like, I remembered the rest of my talk. And when I got off stage, like, of course, that's your biggest fear, that you just go blank in the middle of your talk. And I realized, I overcame it. Like, I managed to deal with the situation and carry on, and nothing serious happened after that. Like, no one came up to me later and said, oh, like, I noticed how you got stuck, or like, they didn't even mention it. Like, I still have people who I meet who say, like, oh yeah, I looked you up and I looked at your TEDx talk and everything, and they never mentioned the part where you get stuck. It's just part of being human. So, but it is scary. Like, I wouldn't want that to happen again. But then I know that I can overcome it if it happens. But yes, coming to the money. So I recently came across some statistics about Estonia, and I was actually surprised to find that we have some of the highest percentages of female leadership in middle management and C-level in Europe. And this is something that I do think has come, like I've noticed it around as well. Like my mom was she worked at PricewaterhouseCoopers when I was younger. She became a senior manager. It didn't seem like anything super special that she was in leadership. But it has been a topic that has been discussed a lot, that Estonia has some of the biggest wage gaps in all of Europe. So women get paid something like on average 30% less for the same job, or something like that. And it's a very complex topic. It is very interesting for me, and it's something that I've just noticed among my friends and peers as well, that women, when they do get pay rises, it's usually encouraged by their manager or a company policy, and they're just very happy to get that raise, and they're like, oh yes, like now I'm getting what I deserve, or they're generally happy with their pay. And when it comes to asking for more money, it's a topic of a lot of stress and kind of anxiety inducing. It's like, what if they say no, and I feel like I'm asking for too much maybe. But I never hear my male peers say anything like that. It's they are way more confident about asking what they think they're worth. Correct. In that. So I actually studied social anthropology in university, and gender studies and kind of sex and kinship. All of that was some of my favorite topics. And there was one study that I remember, and I haven't looked at it recently if there are any updated versions of this, but there was a study of the pay gap in the United States, and they looked at how women are more likely to drop out of work for a couple of years to raise their kids, and they found that if in terms of the years of experience, we kind of make it level in terms of between men and women, and then look at salary wage gaps, then the difference is actually way smaller and kind of almost like just statistically insignificant. So basically what it really boils down to is women being away from the workspace more, and due to that, they don't get as many experiences. They're behind by a couple of years in terms of their knowledge or what they've experienced and what they've done. And I think here it really comes down to what kind of knowledge or even skills are appreciated in the workplace. It's everything that we call the softer skills are kind of less paid for, and this is something that a couple of women I know who have been at home, have been stay-at-home moms for a while. They actually say that having kids teaches you so many things that are great for business as well, even if it comes to time management or whatever it comes to. Like often they've in theory known things before, but having kids has actually taught them to put that into real life. So I've been thinking about this in a way where I think to really come to terms with it, or to really solve the pay gap, first of all, I think men should be more encouraged to stay at home with kids as well. And this is something that I've seen very positively change in Europe. I know, like, compared to 10, 15 years ago, I know so many more dads who are staying home with their kids, or maybe they split with the wife like 50-50. We have a very generous stay-at-home time, and I think this probably contributes to the pay gap to some extent. In Estonia, I think it's 1.5 years fully paid that you get to stay home with your kids, which is amazing. Wow. It encourages people to have more kids for sure. But then again, if you have 1 or 2 kids, it's with 2 kids, it's already 3 years, and that's quite a long time to be away from the workplace. So all I was trying to say is that I love seeing men stay at home more, and this actually takes off the pressure from men having to be the sort of breadwinners or the leaders, or having to take on the burden of making all the money. Like, I think everyone would be happier if this was more equal between the men and the women. Like it's so much pressure on the men as well to have to work for money and not being able to spend time with their kids and everything. So I think that's one trend that I'm really seeing. It's probably going to be quite slow to change for in a significant way, but I think it's a good change for sure.
I completely agree. If I have to personally relate in my case also, currently my kid is like 4 years old, tested positive for COVID. He is in COVID phase. In fact, my husband is taking the time off and taking care of him. So
Nice.
most of the times when my kid falls sick, he's the one who comes forward and offer to stay at home and take care of him. Knowing my nature of job, he knows that even if I take holiday and I'll keep getting calls and I'll be juggling around, and he always says that at least okay, comfortably do your work. I can take time off and take care of him. So that positive change is coming on, as you rightly said. It's not only women's job anymore to take care of house. It is like a shared responsibility. And as you rightly pointed out, that becoming a mom, in fact, makes us a better team head, right? Team lead. How to manage your team members, when to incentivize, when to use carrot, when to use stick, and how to manage the time and how to still deliver and run the home like the way you run the office. So it complements each other. So if a woman is coming back from a career break, you should be even more thinking that mentally, there's a scientific study, right? When you give birth to your kid, there is a scientific study that your brain pattern changes. In fact, that makes you more stronger. That will make you to have more thinking capability, and your awareness and instincts will become better. So if they are coming back after a career break or after a maternity leave, you can be 100% sure they're going to even more become a better leader. So I think this awareness need to come. All the more reason a self-awareness need to come for female, that who are going back after a career break or who are trying to get back to the field after a career break. Do not feel that you have lost something. Rather, you have gained a special experience and you can quickly bridge the race with other colleagues and never feel that you are left out. So thank you, Katheriin, for that great insights. So to put this question, you have already told that you have not seen much challenges, but in your own way, but you would have seen challenges for other women, that how it is going in the present condition. But in an ideal state, what is your vision for women in workplace?
Yeah, so my vision for women leaders is that everyone should be able to define their own meaning of success. And this should not be hindered by any, gender roles or glass ceilings or stereotypes. I do not think that everyone wants to be a leader, a manager, or not. It's not for everyone, and it's completely fine. But I do wish that everyone had the upbringing and the conditioning that would allow them to consider absolutely any path and not think that any kind of aspiration is too high or too unreal. That they're not cut out for something. And this is something I explained, like with speaking. I think public speaking. I think with any other skill or interest, it's very often whatever we practice and also what people around us tell us. So conditioning is like something that gets done when we are brought up. If we are told that that we should be timid or quiet or not make too much noise, like girls at a young age often are, then this is what we will follow. And the same, at the same time for boys, saying that if they take risks and climb a tree or make noise and are argumentative, this is not often brushed off as boys will be boys or whatever. They're allowed to do these things. And I think it starts at a very, very early age, and in terms of just upbringing. And I think this is again something, because of stereotypes, it's very difficult for something like that to change. But if as much as possible we can encourage the girls to be gutsy and outwardly spoken, and it will help in terms of becoming a leader, because you have to have the courage to say out with confidence what you think and why you think it, and kind of fight for it in a way. So I think my vision would be that girls would be brought up in a way where leadership skills are actually encouraged in them. And I do hope that a lot of this is changing, and that there will be some pushback for sure, because there are many who think that traditional roles, or women need to be more tender, or take the back seat and kind of support rather than lead. But I do remember I'm always reminded of this one article I read, and I think it was more than 10 years ago, but it had a major impact on me. And I've tried to find this later on, but I haven't found it. It was, I think, in the likes of New York Times or some other online publication like that. And this article was about how we speak to girls and little girls, and not just as mothers, but even if we go to visit someone and it's maybe a friend's kid or a relative or whatever, then we're very commonly talking to them about their pretty little dress they're wearing, or the dolls that they're playing with, or telling them, oh, they have so pretty hair, or whatever. But instead try to shift the conversation to what books are you reading, or like make it more focus on other things rather than the appearances or the typically girly things. Because I realized that this comes very naturally. Like we do start talking to girls about their looks or whatever. They are so cute. Like it's very like it just comes naturally that you want to talk about these things. But you don't have such conversations with the little boys for some reason. So it's just an example of small changes that we can make in terms of encouraging the right conversations and the right mindset from a very early stage. And I think it's going to have a major impact if it's done over and over again, and just will have a very good impact on women from a very young age.
Completely agree with you, Catherine. It might be a repeat. I have said this in many forums. In my childhood, definitely my parents created a difference, because I love to play with dolls, but I'll be playing in I'll act myself as a teacher and I'll be teaching those dolls. Or I'll have a phone. My father will give me a dummy phone. I'll act like I'm an officer already and it's my own cabin. And always he encouraged me
Nice.
to play with doctor's set or building set, and he will ask me to picture myself as a doctor or a teacher or an officer. So maybe that's why from the young age I always was very career oriented, rather than I never played like I'm a mother and those dolls are the kids. Rather, I played myself as a teacher or a manager or like that in such an young age. Rightly, I'm able to relate to that. Parents plays very important role, and surroundings plays very important role. How women are being taken care. You cannot say like you're not now 14, you dress like this, or you take care of your appearance like this. Don't go there. People may judge your character. You character assassination may happen, so you should be careful. Rather, you should tell your daughters character assassination will happen as you grow up. All you need to do is be confident, courageous, and you will come out of it. You have to believe in yourselves. Don't shade yourselves, and don't think about what others are thinking. Always have your self dependability and have your independence, have your financial dependence on you. These are the things you need to nurture and condition the girl child, or any child for that matter. I'm sure that being in this generation, we all together can make that change for sure. Thanks, Catherine. That was a great insight. I will ask this question to everyone. Any particular women leader or fellow industrial leader or your colleagues you look up to? I know you're all fan of your first manager. Apart from her, anybody else you follow or you look up to, Catherine?
Yeah, there are definitely many inspiring women leaders in my life, and have been in the past. But I think the one that I would have to bring out the most is definitely my mom. So she has held high-level positions and started her own company while having also 3 kids. So myself and my 2 brothers, which is,
Wow.
Now that I'm coming of age as myself, I'm just realizing what kind of a super person it takes to do something like that. And I think it's thanks to her that I've never had to think twice about taking on leadership positions, whether it's for organizing the high school prom or starting my own business, because I've seen her do that like throughout my own life growing up. And I know she has definitely made a lot of sacrifices herself, and a lot of these things I don't remember myself. There's this one story that breaks her own heart when she was working at PricewaterhouseCoopers. Then she would often work late nights, and there were a couple of times when I was the last child in the kindergarten, or childcare, who was being picked up. And one of these nights when my mom was kind of apologizing for coming to pick up me so late and everything, then apparently I had said that I enjoy staying late because at the end of the night they give us bread. So, just for me as a kid, it wasn't a big deal that she wasn't there. I was just, enjoying whatever, but it kind of broke her heart because instead of having, of course we had proper dinner after, but the dinner being delayed, like that I would have to, eat like just bread that they gave me in the kindergarten. So that made her make a change and kind of prioritize being there earlier in the nights as well. But I think it's partially thanks to the sacrifices that she's made, and she's taken on more of the household work as well, for sure. And it's just something that she has always done, and just being able to manage all of that, to juggle all of that, it's been very inspiring to see that from the sidelines. And now that all the kids are growing up, she's actually taking more time off work and going to play tennis and work on her hobbies. And I can just see that because she has worked so hard for so many decades, she has now come to a point where she can just take it a little bit more easy, and she's in a comfortable spot, and she can enjoy, pick what she wants to do. And I think having that kind of flexibility or comfort in a certain part of your age, I think it's just a fruit of your own work. So I think it's very inspiring to see all of that from the sidelines, and hopefully do something similar with my life.
Wow, that's inspiring. For all of us, I think our mother is the first inspiration for sure. And it was an inspiring story, Katheriin. I could now see why are you so strong and why are you able to inspire a lot of women out there. So one thing, I really noticed about your profile is like your profile picture and as well as the title, like, Chief Physician in Revenue Marketing Clinic. It's very creative, right? Eye-catching, and for self-branding, that and all is very important. It's being a marketer, you need to be very creative and innovative, right, to break the clutter. So how video as a tool helped in your marketing journey for you to create some of the innovative campaigns, Katheriin?
Yeah, it's one of the things of marketing that I've definitely always enjoyed. I've never been a super artsy person, but I've always been creative in my own ways, or enjoyed doing some creative things. And marketing has this great balance of being, analytical and very like just work. And sometimes it's just work, and sometimes it takes a lot of creativity as well. And correct. I think video is just one great form to do that. These days we are consuming so much of the information and kind of even, special entertainment as well in the form of videos. And to create videos that communicate something very well is, it's an art form in itself, but it's just sometimes it gives more emotion. It's easier to tell an emotional story with video, with the visuals, with the kind of people that are involved. It gives a more human touch as well. So I do try to use video as much as possible. It is, more resource heavy. It takes more work to create than, I don't know, anything in text form or pictures, but it has a much bigger impact. So it's a great tool to use in marketing for sure. I do have an example of one video that we created as a customer story, user story. So we can play that.
Yeah, we'll play that.
Big Bank is a company that is specialized in providing loans and also deposits and focuses upon this within Europe. Goeiedag, my name is Jim, and Leap really helps me to streamline the communication that I have. Instead of having to answer to Skype messages, email messages, and all kinds of other internal messages that we have, I have now one program where I can find everything. and that makes it really useful and also saves a lot of time.
Hi, my name is Pippa and I use Fleep for a lot of different things. Mainly it's for chatting with my colleagues and trying to arrange different tasks that we've got.
Schönen guten Tag. My name is Ben. I also very like the pin post option in the chat, so I can just post a document and it's always visible for every member of the chat.
Fleep is very user-friendly, and I'm not very good with computers normally, but I found it really easy.
I think Fleep would appeal to a lot of people. I think it's very user-friendly in the way that it works. It's very simple to use, so you don't need any training or anything. If you have any questions, you can just message someone actually from Fleep as well, which is really good.
Fleep is really great for companies that are the size of Big Bank because it does streamline a lot of the, otherwise be just a lot of bulk email.
I would actually recommend Fleep to everybody, but especially for teams who are working in different locations.
I definitely would recommend it big corporations that have a lot of employees. In our case, it's also very important because we act in 9 countries. And so not everybody is even in the same building. So we use Fleep to talk to people in Spain and Sweden, and it's there in 1 second and it's very convenient.
It was quite strange to see people in an office again, like all being together. That's been a while.
Anything about specific about this campaign, Katheriin?
So we worked with a small local creative agency for creating this, and I think what we did quite well was to bring in the more human or even, animal dogs aside of the company. It's always great to have this something very, something that people can relate to in the video, and just incorporate that into your brand message and kind of make it more appealing in that sense. I mean, a lot of the tools that we create in the B2B world are, at the end of the day, they're just software. It's not something super exciting. It's something people use for work, and it can be difficult to make that kind of emotionally appealing. And in videos, you can play with a lot of different visuals to do that. And this video was created some years ago now, and the budget even for that wasn't that big. But if you just find a few creative people and kind of work on it as a team, then it's completely doable.
Great insights, Katheriin, from you. It was a very insightful session. So before wrapping up the session, couple of rapid fire questions for you, just to know your inner self of yours, apart from marketing and anything else. So the one thing you would like to do in your free time?
I love to dance. So I've always been dancing, and it's my favorite hobby. It just works as meditation for me. So that's the one thing.
So what is the one hardest learning which you are taking for lifetime in your professional career so far?
Hardest learning. I think it might actually be to speak up. It started from school, but as I said, I wasn't a fan of public speaking at some time, and there was one course I was taking where it was a smaller seminar type of class, and there was a question that came up that was that the teacher had very smartly brought up in a way to make a point, and I later realized he was expecting me to be the one to speak up for specific reasons, and I didn't, because I thought the answer was very obvious to everyone else as well. Turns out it wasn't, but I just sort of had this regret later that if I had just spoken up, like it would have just a very small thing, but I always, after that, I try to encourage myself to speak up, even if you think it might be obvious to everyone else in the room, or just have that courage.
Good. So what is your dream vacation?
I am right now actually dreaming of summers in Estonia. It's been a very long winter and a difficult one, and our summers are just magnificent. We get a lot of sunlight. In the nighttime, the sun barely even sets, and it's just a very different vibe. And I think it's because we have long winters, people appreciate the summers a lot more also. So we have lots of beautiful nature, very calm and easygoing. So if anyone ever comes, let me know, look me up, I'll give you a tour and I'll show you the best of Estonia.
Wow, I'll come sometime for sure, Katheriin, and
Sure,
I'll find.
that would be great.
So thank you, Katheriin. Last but not least, how did you enjoy being at LeadHERs?
Oh, I really enjoyed it. It's always great to talk about these topics and to have this forum where people share about these topics like very candidly and openly, and have like-minded people to discuss it. So I think it's a great initiative, and thank you for making me a part of it.
Thank you, Katheriin, for giving your time to us. It was an amazing session. Thank you a lot. From MOV team, we are sincerely thanking you for taking your time and joining us. So before signing off, this is Scindia Balasingh. We will soon find you with the episode 8 in the next week with one another interesting guest. And please remember, this same episode is available in all podcast streaming platforms. Please listen and share your thoughts with us. This is Scindia Balasingh signing off from all of you. Thank you.